Telling a story well is an important skill. While it comes naturally to some, for others this skill is a learned one. Never fear, you can learn to tell a better, more engaging story. Start your storytelling by interacting with your audience or doing something to grab their attention. Ask them a question, even if it's just rhetorical, that relates to the conclusion, twist, or context for the story you are going to tell. Alternatively, you can make a grabbing statement that catches their attention, setting your hook, the equivalent of a clickbait headline. This forces their attention to focus on the idea of your story and makes them want to hear more. A fairy tale example is: have you ever wondered why the moth chases the flame? Throughout your storytelling, you want to create an immersive experience. You want to tell your audience the story in a way that makes them feel like they're there. Start by giving them context when you start your story. Continue to create the scene by using details which help them picture the action and feel the things you felt. You'll also want to carefully tailor your language, use words which create very strong, very specific emotions. A fairy tale example is: once upon a time, when the world was old and magic still lived and beasts still spoke. Of course, the entire arc of a story should be building tension and releasing tension, until the climactic point in the story and the falling action of the conclusion. But what you need to remember is that a release of tension should come between the tension points. Without this release of tension, a story can feel rushed or too list-like. Real life includes moments between the things that happen to us. Stories should too. This release can be a description of the scene, and quick filling in of semi-relevant details, or a joke if the story is meant to be a bit funny. A fairy tale example is: moth approached the tall, white pillar and there was flame, burning in her glory. Moth felt hooked somewhere around his stomach and the tug of love set in. Of course, heroes do not rescue their princesses in the same day. Make the different people in the story feel different. If you act them differently, then you can skip the annoying blank said parts of the story. You can also make the story feel more immersive. Play with accents, speech patterns, and voices for different people in the story. You can add great comedic value by being silly or stereotyping with the voices. This is really important if you are telling a story by reading it from the page. You can also memorize, which can help, but you want to make sure you know how to read something out loud. Try to avoid simply reading the story off the page. Narration means that you are taking an active part in engaging your audience and performing the narrative. To tell the story in an engaging manner, you will want to vary your voice in terms of speed, volume, tone, cadence. If you speak only in one tone, monotone, you'll bore your listeners, no matter how interesting the story itself is. You want your tone to match the tone of the story. For example, you don't want to speak confidingly when you're telling an epic tale, like Beowulf, but you wouldn't want your voice to get all epic if you were narrating a humorous Shel Silverstein poem, or a light fluffy romance. Make sure that you're narrating slowly. When you read aloud, or tell a story to an audience, you want to speak more slowly than you would if you were simply having a conversation. Speaking slowly allows you to capture your audience and allows them to fully appreciate the story or poem. It's good to have water with you when you're narrating and to stop and take a sip so that you can slow down. You want to project your voice, but you don't want to shout. Breathe and speak from your diaphragm. As an exercise to help you figure out how to do this, stand up straight with your hand on your abdomen. Breathe in and breathe out, feeling your stomach rise and fall as you do this. Count up to 10 as you inhale, then count down from 10 on your exhale. Your abdomen should start to relax. You will want to speak from that relaxed state. Plenty of people don't speak properly or clearly enough when they're trying to narrate. You want to make sure that your audience can hear and understand what you're saying. Avoid mumbling, or speaking too quietly. Articulate your sounds correctly. Articulation basically means pronouncing sounds properly, rather than pronouncing words. The sounds to focus on pronouncing are B, D, G, DZ, J in jelly, P, T, K, TS, CH in chili. Emphasizing these sounds will make your speaking more clear for your audience. Pronounce words correctly. Make sure that you know what all the words in your story or poem mean and how to say them properly. If you have trouble remembering the pronunciation, write up a little guide for yourself next to the word, so that you can say it right when you're narrating. Avoid ums and placeholder words such as like. Although fine for regular conversation, these words will make you sound less confident in your narration and will distract your audience. Visuals should enhance the story's narration. Together, narration and visuals tell a compelling tale. They complement one another. An illustration is a picture that helps make the narrative clearer and the story more attractive. Illustrations should be a consistent style throughout the story. If one illustration is cartoon style, then all the illustrations should be cartoon style. Sound effects are imitative of sounds called for in the story and that enhance the production's illusion of reality. Incidental music is a form that is not primarily musical. Incidental music is often background music, and is intended to add atmosphere to the action. It may take the form of something as simple as a low, ominous tone suggesting an impending startling event or to enhance the depiction of a story advancing sequence. Editing is the process of selecting and preparing written, photographic, visual, audible, or cinematic material used by a person or an entity to convey a message or information. The editing process can involve correction, condensation, organization, and many other modifications performed with an intention of producing a correct, consistent, accurate and complete piece of work. Video editing has been dramatically democratized in recent years by editing software available for personal computers. Editing video can be difficult and tedious, so several technologies have been produced to aid people in this task. Pen-based video editing software was developed in order to give people a more intuitive and fast way to edit video.